Let's give a warm welcome to Heather Kern. Thank you. It's really going to be hard to do my story after that wonderful story because that was so funny and mine's kind of a downer. And I have to tell you before I get started that this is the first time I've told this story in its entirety to any one person. So bear with me because I might lose my shit a little bit. But so between 6th and 7th grade, my mother remarried. We lived in Mobile, Alabama. And this was in the time, I don't know if you remember this hurricane, but Hurricane Frederick kind of wiped Mobile, Alabama out. And I was in a bad school, and it was kind of a bad time, although me and my brother and my mom, we had this great little family. And so she met this man, and I was kind of ambivalent. I didn't know, he looks kind of like Elvis, except old. And that's really my only impression of him. So they went on their honeymoon after the wedding to Maine, and they traveled around and visited his parents, and my mother fell in love with the state. And so they purchased a house in Eustis. So I moved from Mobile, Alabama to Eustis, Maine. I don't know. Yeah, you've been there, right? So I don't know if any of you have been to the Porterhouse restaurant, but that was my home before it was a restaurant, and it's now burned down, and that makes me sad. But while we were there, except for the really horrible stuff that happened, it was kind of idyllic. I mean, we lived in this beautiful home. I had never lived anywhere that wasn't either a trailer or an apartment in a really bad neighborhood. So this was beautiful to me. However, there was this person there, and I didn't like him. I really, really didn't like him. And the reason that I didn't like him was that he was kind of a bully. He would say things to my brother like, you got to be a man and be tough. And he would say things to me like, why can't you be more like your brother? He's got endurance. He's got ability. He's tough. And also, boys don't do dishes. Boys don't clean. You are supposed to do that. And you can't wear jeans because that's not girly. And all of those things were irritating, I hate my stepdad kind of things. But when my mother would go away to work or whatever, and it was just him there, things were worse. Things were way worse. So he thought it was a great idea. One of the things that he liked to do was to pin me down and tickle me until I couldn't breathe, till I literally, like my body betrayed me because I was laughing, but inside I was like so freaked out, and I wouldn't be able to breathe, and I'd break down in tears. And it was at that point that I realized that there are people in this world who get pleasure from humiliating and torturing people who are weaker than themselves. And it was frightening. And so I had this horrible, horrible experience, and I couldn't tell my mom because, she just didn't get it. I mean, she would see the way he would talk to us and the things that he would do, and she never stood up for us. So I was thinking, well, if she doesn't stand up for us here, then how is she gonna take it if I tell her that this man scares me so much? So he got this job, and he went away for long periods of time, and I was like, oh, awesome, he's gone. Life was wonderful because we lived in this beautiful house in this beautiful place, and it was great, and we rode our bikes, and we played in the woods, and we went swimming in the lake, and it was wonderful until he came home again. And then the cloud would come in, and it was like when there's an eclipse and it's broad daylight, but everything is darker. That's the way my life felt a lot during that time. And so this one time he came back, I came home from school, and I could tell things were wrong. Something was really wrong. My mom was upset, and she was one of those don't not in front of the kids kind of people. But I remember this day was kind of like this horrible and yet wonderful day because my mom was going off on this guy. And it should have been because you treat my children like shit, but it wasn't. The really bizarre thing was that she had started to get suspicious. He was gone all the time, so she did some research, and he come to find out when he would leave to go on his other job, was actually spending time with his other wife. And so the last that I saw of the man that I forever after referred to as Satan was him ducking and running away from my mother as she picked up pieces of firewood and chucked them at the back of his head. I was like, go Mom, that's awesome. You know, it's like this tragic thing had come to an end, and he did turn out to be quite an imposter. It could have been so much worse than it was, but I'm here today, and I'm standing in front of you in this lovely state of Maine. So for that, I am grateful.